Ever since I've been following this team, your Minnesota Vikings, starting in 2000, there have been several question marks hovering over this franchise that have remained unanswered, for the most part anyway. Number one is most obvious. Every offseason we go into the following season saying to ourselves as Vikings Nation, can this team finally get over the hump to win its first title in franchise history? That will not get answered until we physically see this team holding up the Lombardi Trophy. Number two, has the kicker position dilemma finally been resolved? So, luckily, me personally, I missed the heartbreak in 98, the Gary Anderson missed kick in the NFC Championship game. But even still, we struggled with the kickers. I thought Ryan Longwell secured his spot long-term with this team, but they said, to hell with you, we're cutting you in favor of Blair Walsh. We know how that story played out. White left at home against the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs to end that playoff run, what could have been a playoff run in 2015. And then I thought Kai Forbath, I thought he cemented his legacy with this team to be here however long he wanted after making the most clutch kick in franchise history against the Saints in the playoffs in 2017. Instead, they cut him right after that. Microwavable league for Daniel Carlson, who his rookie year, after two missed kicks in overtime to end up in a tie at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers, they cut him in favor of Dan Bailey, who at the time was one of the most accurate kickers in the entire history of the NFL, and he still struggled with this team in 2018. Hopefully it picks up in 2019. And number three, more recently, the talent that we have on offense, can it match the productivity that we have on defense? With a revamped offensive line and Gary Kubiak and his offensive scheme, hopefully that picks up. And now number four, which I personally think has been answered. I think it has been truly resolved, but I don't think we've been paying attention to it as far as the outside Vikings Nation, because it was an underwhelming 2018, and Kirk Cousins, there's a lot of blame with him. Can he live up to his $84 million contract? Yada, yada, yada. But it has been resolved, this one dilemma, but I just don't think we're paying attention to it, and it is this. Harrison Smith entered the league. He began his career in the NFL in 2012. He just came off of his 7th season, and he is entering his 8th season in 2019. Harrison Smith has been nothing short of remarkable. He has been spectacular from the very beginning. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The question has always been, can we find a safety that can adequately complement the play of one Harrison Smith? And since he has entered the league, Harrison Smith, here are the safeties that had played alongside him as far as safeties, starting safeties are concerned. Number one, Jamarcus Sanford. Number two, Robert Blanton. To where those two names, when I first read them, I was like, oh yeah, they were on the team. I completely forgot. And Andrew Sendejo most recently. And needless to say, it's been very underwhelming all the way from 2012, his first year, through the 2016 season. And then something happened in 2017. Someone finally stepped up to the plate and said, I got this. I'll take over. And that man goes by the name of Andrew Sendejo. He had a spectacular, a marvelous 2017 season, his breakout year. Now, you got to understand something. Before 2017, it was Andrew Sendejo, like, he was simply an okay player, to where we were saying, can we find somebody that can just be better? Like, he's average, he's not terrible, he's not great, but we need better. Andrew Sendejo's strengths up to that point was he was pretty good at making tackles, specifically in the running game, or finishing off tackles that his teammates would initiate for him. So that was really it. His pass coverage was below average. And then in 2017, something went off for him. Something really happened to where his pass coverage went from below average to arguably, at least for me anyway, his best attribute by far. That 2017 year was crazy. Most notably, the best play he made in 2017, I'm thinking back, week 13 at Atlanta when they were facing the Falcons. Now, the headlines all along was Xavier Rhodes closed versus Julio Jones. The best play that Andrew Sendejo made that season was Julio Jones. Now, Xavier Rhodes pre-snap, he was like 5 or 6 yards playing soft coverage on Julio Jones. He did like a a 5-yard post route or a 7-yard post route, and left Xavier Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes was left in the dust to where Matt Ryan throws it up, lofts it up for Julio Jones, and Andrew Sendejo comes out of nowhere, leaps into the air like Zion Williamson, and smacks the ball down like Dikembe Mutombo. Get that stuff out of here. It was incredible. Hell yeah. I got so amped up for that to where I was like, oh, now Andrew Sendejo, he has finally arrived. And then in 2018, he got hurt. He played up to the Eagles game, the first 5 games into the season 2018, and then he got hurt. He missed the rest of the year to where then Anthony Harris stepped in to fill in the void. Now, Anthony Harris, what was really interesting, what's crazy about him last year was it wasn't what can he do well, it's what can he not do. The dude can do everything. It's ridiculous. First off, let's start with his coverage, his pass coverage skills. He's a natural ball hawk. He's strong. He's got great upper body strength to where he can box out receivers as far as making plays on the ball and passing plays. Even if the wide receiver is open, his closing speed is crazy to where he can make a last-second effort to make a play on the ball. And if we go into the running game, he's strong. He's not afraid to make tackles on bigger players. LeGarrette Blount, I'm talking about strong players. LeGarrette Blount, Rob Gronkowski last year, he made open field tackles against them. Players like that, he's not afraid. And that's probably, he's great at everything. I would say the most special talent that he has is making tackles in the open field. And to where it's like mano a mano, man on man, one-on-one. If you miss this, there's a good chance this dude is breaking off for at least 5 yards, maybe even more, and he will make those surefire tackles. Anthony Harris stepped in and played his ass off. And to that I say, is the safety position finally answered next to Harrison Smith? To that I say, hell yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's a fluke either. I don't think it's a fluke. Go back to 2017. I think this was a game where Andrew Sendejo was out, if I'm not mistaken. This was at home, US Bank Stadium against the LA Rams, to where Jared Goff hits Cooper Kupp. They're in the red zone at this point, the Rams are. Jared Goff hits Cooper Kupp to where he almost made it into the end zone. Now, certainly he would have got tackled at like the 5-inch yard line, whatever that was. But Anthony Harris, he got left. He tried to make a play early. He got left, but he still recovered. And that's the thing. His closing speed is incredible to where he finally made a play on Cooper Kupp, tackled him down. And once he secured him, he made a play to punch out the ball, and it was turnover. It was a turnover, a strip fumble, and he recovered that fumble for a turnover for the Vikings to take over from there. And that was the turning point in the game. I don't think it's a fluke. I think Anthony Harris, I think he's the guy that will finally step up and be that guy consistently, because it would have been Andrew Sendejo, but the NFL is a league where if you miss time, see, the NBA is different. The NFL is different. In the NBA, if Klay Thompson goes down, like he's going to be out pretty much all of next year, you're not going to have somebody to replace him. You can maybe bring in Dion Waiters to say, okay, do the best you can. But as soon as Klay Thompson's back, there's no chance, Dion Waiters, I don't know, Clay. Dion Waiters, he's been kicking ass. We're going to have to sit you down until Dion Waiters falls off, or we're going to have to trade you. In the NFL, with the supply, the amount of players that you can find in an instant outside the quarterback position and premium spots like the offensive line, if you get hurt and you miss some time, the next dude that comes up could outplay you or at least match your production to where it's like, okay, we can move on from the previous guy to bring in this new guy. It would have been Andrew Sendejo, but Anthony Harris has stepped up. Now, he got tendered for this year, 2019. He's not on the books for 2020, so that's the only dilemma. You need to find a way to sign this dude long term. This team is going to have a lot of personnel to make some decisions on. Everson Griffin, Xavier Rhodes, who knows, maybe even Linval Joseph. I think he can still play a couple of years. But there's a lot of players you're going to have to make decisions on. 2020 is going to be a tight year as far as cap space is concerned for your Minnesota Vikings. But Anthony Harris is a priority. I talk about how I like Trey Waynes. I want him on this team. We can debate that all day. There is no question. Anthony Harris needs to be a priority because this dude is the real deal. He is going to be phenomenal in 2019, Finally, one of the many questions that we've had on this franchise has been resolved. We have a safety that can play his ass off next to Harrison Smith. Those two safeties in the backfield, they are going to be dangerous against any quarterback that we face in 2019. We do this 3 times a week. Mediokr Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. You can catch me on Twitter at realistic_Randy. Facebook at Realistic Randy. The next podcast will be Thursday on this YouTube channel, Score North. You can check out my personal YouTube channel, Realistic Randy. We'll see you on Thursday.